and bring her in. Give me just a second. Hello.
Hello, how you going?
Yes, I am doing very well. Again, thank you so much for doing this for me. I know we've had some technical difficulties and some time with connecting. I know I'm in America and you're over in Australia. So again, thank you for kind of working with me on that and kind of, coordinate with me, and we're actually doing this together. We were going to make this happen regardless. Nothing was stopping me from having this interview with you. Okay. I was like, we are doing this today. So again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you. I admire all of your work, and I'm very intrigued about what you do. I follow your page. I'm always looking at your posts, and I think it's really important that we touch points on this subject because with the internet and with everything going on. Ooh, are you still there? Okay.
Are we still having getting phone calls? We're good? It's only if I get a phone call, it's going to cut out. That's all. I'm onto it though.
Okay, good. But if we have technical difficulties, I'll just create some type of intermission or something until things get okay.
Chill dance.
Yeah, I might just have to break the dance or something like that. Just a commercial. I can just, I can do some impromptu stuff and just, create a commercial for you and me, morphing minds and integrated men's health. I can make it work, honey. I can make it work.
That's it.
Okay, so thank you so much for doing this for me. I think it's really important to kind of relay information. The purpose of this is not to judge anyone. It's not to put down anything. It's not to put down men or anything like that. It's more so to inform. Just with how the world is today, there's a lot of things that can kind of get you into trouble. And I do have a youth development program, and I do teach comprehensive sexuality. And basically what that is, it's just positive sexual behaviors and understanding kind of the rules and regulations of sex so that you're not doing something that can actually get you in trouble. You don't want to commit a sexual crime at a very young age because that's something that can haunt you for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? And so we get that, there's a lot of things that are unknown. So I do want to be an advocate for that. And like I said, I do admire you and your work and your bravery and your courage, just to kind of step up and kind of advise what you advise and kind of let people know. And I know it's a very sensitive topic to talk about. So again, I'm very grateful for you. So without further ado, I just want to welcome everybody to my special guest. This is Miss Catherine. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her, and she's going to kind of give you a brief introduction of who she is and kind of like what she does. And then I have a couple of questions that I want to ask. And then if we want to get into any comments, questions or concerns, anything like that, please feel free to ask us, and we can kind of go from there. So kind of go ahead.
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you for coming today. It's really, really important that we spread this message across the world. A lot of my clients are overseas as well, in the UK and Canada and America. So I'm constantly talking to other people overseas, and we have a bit of a problem in Australia where we're not addressing it as well as the rest of the world. So thank you for having me on. I just wanted to tell everyone that we have a couple of freebies that we're going to give away today, which normally cost money to purchase through me. And both of them, one of them is my first book, which is aimed at teens and parents. It is an ebook. It's not a paperback, but you do get access to that. If you stay tuned, we'll tell you how to get that. And the other thing is you'll get a free mini program, which is called the 2-week challenge. And that normally costs $17. And so we're going to get everyone to get on board with that, which is a self-pleasure mini program. So always good to be doing that type of homework. So I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Catherine Lyle. I'm from Integrated Men's Health in Australia, in Melbourne. I'm a men's health and porn addiction specialist. I've been doing this for a very long time now. And I'm a kinesiologist, intuitive healer, massage therapist, psychospiritual therapist. I'm a transformational coach. I'm an author. I have lots and lots and lots of videos, hundreds of videos on YouTube. So anyone that's watching today that can't afford to buy a program or do a treatment with me, and that goes for most of the teens. Then you can access these resources on YouTube. If you go to my website, that's where you'll find everything, all the freebies and all the other stuff as well. It's integratedmenshealth.com.au. So there's ebooks on there on erectile dysfunction, on essential oils to use for sexual health. So we just want to get the message across today that I am doing a lot of this stuff for free. I obviously see my clients and I have my programs, and people need to step up to do that and to pay for those things. But we understand that this affects all people of all ages and demographics, and it's important that they get access to this information so that they can try and quit on their own, and that it's not misinformation. It's really, really important that people understand that there's a whole lot of people out there that are dealing with this type of addiction, and the NoFap community is one of them. And I just want to cover that before I go into the porn addiction and what it is and everything, because NoFap, as most people that are watching this would really be across that. NoFap. Fapping is a term that Americans use for masturbation. We call it wanking in Australia. So everyone's kind of got their different names, but it was started by a group of guys. Yeah, there's lots of names for it, but that's kind of the common name. So it was started by a group of American guy, and they have the right intention. Don't get me wrong there, because people like to attack me over this, but NoFap is only the beginning of it. It's only the awareness that porn needs to stop, that masturbation needs to slow down, that ejaculating is all the time is not good for you. That's what NoFap covers, and we get that. But it does not address. These people are not practitioners. They don't understand the body. They don't have ebooks. They don't have resources. They're not treating clients every single day, which is what I've been doing for 15 years. It's really important that you understand that Instagram influencers, all the things. You've just got to know that these people have the right intentions, but they don't always have the right information. And NoFap says no porn, no masturbation, no orgasm, no ejaculation. And what it does is it throws the baby out with the bathwater. So it suppresses male sexuality when I promote it. Okay, so I just want you to know, everyone sees me as a woman. They think I want to tell everyone to stop watching porn. I've never stood on my soapbox and come from that angle or from the moral perspective, even though we do cover that with teens, because that's the thing that they need to learn, because no one would listen to me. I come from a scientific background, a practitioner background. I talk about the brain, I talk about erectile dysfunction, and how we're going to talk about all of that today. And it's really important that you understand this stuff, because if you're led by the wrong people, then you're going to constantly relapse. And that's what NoFap sets people up for, is it puts them into scarcity. What they don't understand is their brain is addicted to drugs. Just like a drug addiction, they're coming down off the drugs, and NoFap doesn't address that whatsoever. It doesn't address the hyperfrontality, which is when the brain becomes hypersensitive to triggers, which hypertestosterone, and every little thing, from the chick from the supermarket to the girls at the beach to someone sending you a text message. It all sets men off, and NoFap doesn't address that. And what their brain is doing is coming down off crack, and it's putting them into scarcity. Then they're going to more guilt and more shame around the addiction and how they can't control it, and I call it the NoFap diet. And as we know, if anyone goes on a diet, they go straight into scarcity mindset, and then they start looking. Everything's a trigger, right? Everything's a trigger. And they can't actually control what's going on in the body because they don't understand it. So that's just a bit of a pre-warning from me. And just because I'm a woman and don't have a penis means absolutely nothing. I'm an expert.
That, you touch point on that, because I'm in process of actually studying the brain, and what people don't really realize is that whenever you have drug damage, whenever you have trauma, whenever you have sexual abuse, when you have disease, those affect your brain. And then it creates these pockets in your brain, and your blood is not flowing the way that it used to. So the different hemispheres in your brain, it's not working like it should normally work, and you're not able to make plans, because it's blocking that part of your brain. And so I don't think people really understand how their brain works. And so that's, a goal of mine, is that I'm in process of understanding how the brain works and getting certification on brain health, to be a brain health practitioner, just to kind of add value to who I am, but also study the brain, because with mental health, I feel like it's important. And there's a lot of things, sexual trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma that, and it affects your brain. Mm-hmm. And if people don't necessarily understand and know how this works, they're going to continue to, to move in the same path that they're moving on. And it can be very detrimental to their future, and they can, do something, and it's a consequence they're going to have to deal with for the rest of their life. And a sexual offense is something you don't want to have on your record. You know what I mean? And yeah, and it's fault. It's just it's the trauma that they're dealing with. Whatever trauma it could be. Sex is kind of like one of those feel-good types of things. So if the brain isn't working properly, sex feels good. They're going to constantly do it. They're going to constantly take that type of pleasure, because that's the only way that they know how to be happy. You know what I mean? And and I chose to work with teenagers is because this is when their body is reproducing, and they're understanding their emotions, and then with the internet the way that it is, they have access to so many different things, so that they can engage in it. And then the earlier they start, it's somebody said dopamine addiction. Absolutely. That's the only dopamine drip that they're getting. And it's like, no, that's not okay. So we have to find other ways, and we have to kind of teach them. And I feel, teaching people and kind of putting the information out there and letting them know will kind of help people. And so again, I thank you. My purpose connecting with you is basically as a resource. I teach comprehensive sexuality, but anything related to any type of men's sexual health, I will be referring to Miss Catherine here, because this is her expertise. I just wanted to kind of bring her on here and, ask her a couple of questions and kind of have a professional with years and years of experience to kind of go over some things and kind of inform you guys, just so that the information is out here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get to the questions here.
Sure.
I have a couple of questions. So the first question is what exactly is porn addiction, and, how does it all start?
Yeah. Okay. So people need to understand that I got called a man hater when I first started doing this, and that I'm shaming men, and it was quite interesting, because I'm like, no, we're talking about the brain. But what I want to address is men feeling shame around this, because they feel like they're a bad person. And what we want to address today is the brain addiction, and the part of the brain that gets affected is the control panel of your personality. Okay, so you feel like this is who you are. It is true. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but you'll start to understand now what's actually going on. So porn addiction is classified, we classified a porn addiction as watching it once a month or more. And everyone will be like, what? Every guy watches porn. They watch porn all the time, blah, blah, blah. There's two reasons I say that. One is, well, three. One is I've got a ton of experience, and I've spoken to about 15,000 men over the years, right? If not more. I've treated thousands in person, thousands and thousands. So I have lots of experience, and I do see, what happens. The other thing is textbook definition by psychology says that if you can't go without anything for a month, then you have an addiction. And the third reason is I have clients who are probably in their 60s to 80s, let's say. There are younger clients, but this is the majority, that watch it once a month, but they're only masturbating once a month. They technically have a porn addiction because they never masturbate without it, and haven't done that for 55 years. Okay?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it is a scale, and at one end of the scale is the man watching it once a month, but technically, if you're watching it once every 2 months and you're only masturbating once every 2 months, you still have a porn addiction. So if you're not masturbating without it ever, and you can't, and when we say can't, it's because you don't get turned on, you don't get stimulated, you can't orgasm, you can't get an erection, then you have a porn addiction, okay? No one associates with the word addiction or addict in terms of porn. It's been around since, day dot. So it's really important that you understand that this is how it is. If you're watching it regularly, which is once a month or more, then you have a porn addiction, okay? And you will have brain damage because of it. It's 100% of cases, okay? So that's the textbook of porn addiction. What it actually is it's a neural addiction. It's not a sex addiction, and it's not a behavioral addiction. It's a neural addiction, okay? Any sex addiction that I've treated, yeah, it's to do with the brain. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, cut out there. It's to do with the brain, right? So it's exactly the same as a drug addiction, okay? Exactly the same in the way that it affects the body and the brain. So what happens is when you watch porn, say you're a 17-year-old and you just got a smartphone, you're going to watch porn every single day for a week, let's say, okay? So every single day for a week is all it takes, in my opinion, to get addicted to porn. And as it would cocaine, okay? So we just got to parallel those, because when we do that, men start to see this differently. They start to see it as a drug addiction, and they start to realize, not even from the moral perspective, but why would you bring drugs into your relationship every single day? Yeah. Why would anyone enable or allow this into their relationship as their partner, as their father, as their teacher, as their coach? If you see it as the same as a drug addiction, you start looking at it differently. The mindset changes, okay? So what happens is when you watch porn, a whole lot of chemicals and hormones flood the body. They're built up in the brain. And we're looking at dopamine, oxytocin, and serotonin are the three main ones, okay? Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It's produced in really high levels in women that have just given birth, because they need to bond with a baby after they just gave birth to it, and it ripped them in two, okay? So that's the bonding hormone.
If I'm like writing stuff down, it's because I'm taking notes. I don't know.
That's fun. That's fun. So it's the bonding hormone. Also is produced when you make love and when you hug your kids. So it's not always sexual. Oxytocin is the feel-good chemical. It's the loved-up hormone, okay? And when you're first dating someone and it's all like, woo, it's all lusty and like texting and everyone's keen and having sex and stuff, that's oxytocin, okay? Yeah. Unfortunately, with oxytocin, the danger with that one is that it bonds you to what you're watching, okay? Now, there's a thing called the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind believes that you are having the experience you are watching if you're having a chemical reaction in the body, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more, and bonding to it because of the oxytocin, okay? So if I'm sitting here with a lemon, and I'm talking about this lemon and I'm describing it in detail, and I say how bitter it is and how sour it is, and it's so juicy, I'm going to cut it up, I'm going to bring it towards my mouth, and I'm going to eat it and try and get some juice in my mouth. My mouth starts to salivate telling that story, and a lot of people, that was a short version, but if you were actually watching me do that, you would start to salivate because the glands start to go off in the salivary glands. What you're doing is having a chemical reaction. Even though you're not tasting the lemon, you're still having that chemical reaction.
So you can still feel it even though it's not there. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're watching a movie and something really resonates versus you just sitting on the phone and kind of watching other things and whatever, and you start to cry, the subconscious mind thinks you're experiencing it, like a child getting killed in a car accident, for example, is horrific for any parent to watch, and they start to resonate with it and they start to cry. So you're having a chemical reaction. So if you're having a chemical reaction in the body, the subconscious mind thinks you're actually experiencing it. So I say to guys, every single act of porn that you have seen or watched, or a woman that you have, watched or masturbated over, if you had a chemical reaction in the body, which means you got turned on and you had an orgasm and you got stimulated and all the body was producing all these chemicals, then your brain thinks that it has happened to you. And this is where I'm going to take my work even further with the brain, because this is where it affects relationships the most. Men are turning away from sex. They're refusing sex. They're not interested in their partner. They're not showing up. They're not present when people are having sex. And we understand there's a whole lot of problems with women as well, right? But this is what's happening because of porn, right? So that's the oxytocin. The serotonin is the happy hormone, the feel-good chemical that is, when people are depressed, they are low in serotonin, okay? So serotonin, antidepressants helps you reduce serotonin. Exercising and all of that, those things help you produce serotonin. So you get to feel bonded and loved with the oxytocin. You get to feel happy with the serotonin. And men that have autism, Asperger's, ADHD, and depression tend to masturbate way more than everyone else, right? Because of the serotonin.
Yes.
And then you've got the dopamine, which everyone seems to know about. But the dopamine is what we call the feel-good the novelty drug. So it's, I like what I see and I want to see more of it, okay? And then the impulse part of the brain, which is called the hindbrain, which is like a little hammer, and it just says, we didn't die from this yesterday, jumping out of a plane, or riding a motorbike or watching porn. The hindbrain says, we didn't die from this yesterday, so we're going to do it again today. And then we're going to do it again and again and again and again. And it keeps impulsing until your cycle of watching porn once a month turns into once a week, and then it's every day, and then it's 3 times a day. I have treated someone in America who was 16 at the time, or spoken to him, I couldn't treat him because of his age, who was watching porn 36 times a day, every single day.
16?
Yeah.
And 30 times a day?
36.
36 times a day?
Every day.
Oh my.
and masturbating and watching porn every single time. Yeah. So he has major health issues. He's in my new book because we really had to cover off what was going on with the rest of your body when you do this. And I'll cover that in a sec. So that's what's happening in the brain. It's producing a whole lot of chemicals and hormones, oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. The dopamine is the exciting adrenaline feeling, right? But the dopamine kicks in before the porn session. It depends on what time of day, and there's always a cycle. It's always men are either masturbating at night before they go to sleep, or they have to do it first thing in the morning, or they do it when their wife isn't home at 4 o'clock, or, you know, when someone rings them and says, I'm going out, that's when they do it, okay? Some people are doing it at work, some people are doing it in their cars, but there'll be a time that your brain has to have that fix, okay? So you've got this dopamine kicking in before the porn session. It's when the brain sees an opportunity. That's when the porn will start to, the dopamine will start to kick in, okay? So on top of those 3 chemicals, you've also got your opiates, which are the feel-good kind of chemicals, and then you also get tunnel vision. Tunnel vision is you've started masturbating and you're getting close to orgasm and an earthquake starts, or your mum's come in the driveway and you just can't stop. You just can't walk away and stop because you're in that tunnel, okay? So that's just an extreme, example. But tunnel vision is very important when it comes to mental health, because the guys that have depression go into the tunnel. They stay in the tunnel for hours and hours and hours on end because they don't want to come out of the tunnel, because if they do that, then they have to come down, okay? So that's what tunnel vision is. It keeps you, like, we all become very, very courageous and brave when we're in that edging, stage. So that's what's happening. And then when you have that explosion and that fireworks going on and you couple porn masturbation, so if you watch porn on its own, it's not as bad as if you couple masturbation and pleasure with that, because when you've got the 2 going off, it's the biggest fireworks display you can actually give your brain. And when that's happening, the brain goes, whoa, this is full on, right? But if you do that every single day, the brain can't cope with all the excess chemicals and hormones. Just as if you took cocaine one night, you might survive, and you come down and you're like, oh my God, I'm tired, and what a huge night, and that was all exciting. But then if you do it again the next day, and you do it again the next day, and you do it again the next day, the brain's like, whoo, I can't accommodate for all these extra chemicals and hormones. So it starts to change itself. The brain starts to rewire. It's called neuroplasticity, and the neural pathways in the brain start to change because it can't cope with all the excess chemicals and hormones. And when it does that, it then needs the chemicals to survive, just like a crack addiction, okay? So just get that through your heads, guys. It's if you watch porn every single day, then the brain requires that level of chemicals and hormones to feel like it needs to survive. Just like we know with heroin addicts, and we've all watched the movies, even if we don't know anyone, and as they start to come off the heroin, it's intense. It's a full-on vomiting, the DTs, people have to be there, they have to be supported. It's an extreme version of what's going on. But if you have a look online, you will see that there are brain scans comparing heroin addicts with porn addicts, and the porn addicts are worse. All right, just take that in for a second. Yeah.
I agree.
So what's happening is you've got this hit of the drugs, right? And the flooding and the chemicals and the horniness and all the tingles and the hair standing on end and all of the things that will happen, especially when you're 17 versus when you're 55. It's not happening anymore at 55. You're trying to search for that thing that actually gives you that hit, right? Anyway, we'll go back to being young. So it's hit and then crash. What comes up must go down. So all of these chemicals are being produced in excess, so they then come down and then you feel like shit, right? On the come down, what happens is prolactin is a hormone which then increases, prolactin causes erectile dysfunction. So every time you have a crash from the hormone chemicals, you're going to have an increase in the chemicals that cause erectile dysfunction. Now, the other thing that's happening is the crash is when you ejaculate. And everyone knows that guys can go to sleep or go back and concentrate at work or, you know, get on with life once they ejaculate because they feel like they've relaxed, they've released tension and stress. What they've actually released is sexual energy, life force energy, chi, which is all kind of the same thing, and important nutrients and minerals that keep the body and the prostate healthy. Right, we call that an ejaculation hangover. When someone ejaculates, their testicles go into overdrive to try and produce or reproduce all of the sperm that they lost, okay? Just like your body goes into, like you feel like you're being hit by a truck on that first day of a cold, is because your thymus is actually shutting down the body to try and prepare and fight. Right, so that first day of the cold when you feel like shit, I say to people, you've got to listen to your body. Your body's trying to do something because it requires energy to do it. Right, so your testicles require energy to produce more sperm, so that's that shutdown feeling. It's like, well, the body's trying to produce a whole lot of little babies in there, right? So that's what's happening. So then the ejaculation hangover is all the nutrients and minerals that keep the prostate healthy. Selenium, zinc, and there's a few others, actually get released through ejaculation, right? So the urologists, who are probably not watching this because they don't even know about porn addiction, and the doctors who keep prescribing Viagra have no idea about porn addiction. They have no idea. They keep telling men to ejaculate often to keep the pipes clean. Okay, that's fine. But it's not healthy because all of the nutrients and minerals that you're losing keep your prostate healthy. They keep the inflammation down, right? The other thing is testosterone can only be produced in the body if you have the right minerals and nutrients and foundational nutrition going for you. You cannot produce testosterone or anything good in your body if you don't have the right foundations, okay? So zinc is the number one mineral for men to have. We do not produce zinc in the body naturally. We have to get it from our foods, and most of the foods these days don't. People aren't eating the right diets, and the food quality itself isn't ideal. Zinc, you lose half your daily zinc every time you ejaculate. Okay, so yeah, so the men who are not taking zinc and they're losing half their daily intake in zinc, they're actually going into zinc deficiency, obviously. And the men who are masturbating 36 times a day or even 3 times a day are going to have major issues with zinc and testosterone. Now, zinc helps you produce testosterone. Testosterone then helps you with the hair, losing hair, baldness, skin, acne, producing muscles, you know, all of that body hair, all of the masculine producing sperm, being fertile, all of those amazing things you're not going to have happening in your body because you're losing your daily zinc. And just for that reason alone, forget the porn addiction and everything else that's going on. Sorry, what was that? You cut out.
You're ejaculating too much?
Yeah, so I teach men how to have orgasm without ejaculation. I teach them how to have multiple orgasm without ejaculation, and it is possible. It takes time because we do have to uncondition and reprogram the body, but it is completely possible. And so I'm all for making men more sexual, more connected to their own bodies and others. And we actually teach them how to do that. And then I recommend, so for anyone watching, I recommend that you only ejaculate once a week. That's it. All right. And I'll go into a little bit of the homework on that in a sec. But basically that's what a porn addiction is. It's the hit, crash, hit, crash, hit, crash cycle. You have the ups and then the downs. And then when you lose your chi is your energy in your body. It's a Chinese medicine term. We use it in kinesiology and tantra and Taoism and all of the things. It's got different names: pranic energy, jing. And every time you ejaculate, you lose bodily fluids like blood and things like that. You lose your chi. Women lose it when they menstruate, all of that stuff, right? So you're losing your chi, and your chi is your sexual energy. So I talk about, men talk about sex drive, I talk about sexual energy, and I talk about organic sexual energy. Men that think they have high sex drives are normally porn addicts, because It's the brain driving the addiction, driving the cravings and the triggers and the, you know, thinking about sex all the time and being hyperfrontality and all of the, you know, just being, you know, super, super sexual. It's because of the porn and their brain and their eyes. That's it. They then drag their penis along for the ride, okay? And this is where the problem happens with erectile dysfunction. They're flogging a dead horse, as we call it in Australia. I don't know if you... Yeah. It's like no man is ever sitting down at a computer or with his phone with a raging hard on. No one is doing that with a huge erection going, whoo, I just got to, you know, I've got to watch porn. They're sitting down with no erection, no sexual energy. They're not turned on, or their body, if they think they are, because their body's craving this, you know, this next hit, this next drug hit. And so what they do is they sit down and they try and get stimulated. And they use porn to do that. And so we call that porn-induced erectile dysfunction. If you, I get everyone to masturbate without porn, and we see where they're at. And 96, 97% of men that I see, and I don't see them all for porn addiction, some of them have no idea what I do when they book in with me, which is a bit scary. 96, 97% of men that I see have erectile dysfunction. It's huge. It's massive. When I did a survey, it came back 45%. But what I've discovered in my practice is that men would come in and say they didn't have erection issues, but it turned out they did. They just didn't know. Because they don't know because they're not masturbating without porn. So porn will... Sorry?
I don't mean to cut you off, but in regards to that, so do you think, or in your practice, have you seen where they couldn't get an erection without like either thinking about it or, you know, or even in the moment when they're getting erection with their significant other or whomever?
Yeah. So sex is a little bit different because you're adding a person and connection and energy, right? So let's say guys that are single and dating, they tend to be okay with that first interaction with that woman because, you know, they're hyped up on dopamine, their body's like craved, you know, all over the place with oxytocin. And so they're getting that similar hit to porn when they have sex for the first time. But if you're talking about a 35-year-old, a 45-year-old, a 55-year-old that's married, they've got major problems with erections during sex. They can get an erection most of the time, but they can't maintain it. And it's almost 100% of cases. And 100% of cases that I've seen, it was porn that caused the erection issues. Okay, now the doctors will tell you about smoking, blood pressure, diabetes, and age, and all of those things do contribute. But when we looked at even those men in their older ages with diabetes on high blood pressure medication, which causes problems with libido and erections and everything, when we took away porn, because it were 100% of the guys watching porn, then they started to get erectile function again. Okay, so it's 100% of cases. It's called porn-induced erectile dysfunction. If you have erectile dysfunction, I would almost guarantee you it's because of porn. And it can occur later in life. If you've watched porn for 10, 15, 20 years and then you stopped because you met someone or you got married, you'll still have problems with the brain and you'll still have problems with erectile dysfunction. So what they're doing is they're overstimulating the brain every single time, fast forwarding. I call it the greyhound race. So the greyhounds, I don't know if you have greyhounds in America, but greyhounds run around and they chase a little white rabbit that's not real. It's a stuffed rabbit. And that's how they get the greyhounds to race, right? They're not horses. They don't have people on them. They get the greyhounds to race with this little white rabbit. So that's how I see porn. The little white rabbit isn't real and you're not meant to catch it, guys, right? You'll never, ever, there's no glass ceiling on dopamine and stimulus, and porn addiction always turns into something else, always. When you get bored with porn, what do you think you're going to do? You're going to go to sex parlors, you're going to go to massages, you're going to have affairs with women, you're going to go on dating sites just for the thrill of it. You're going to contact women like me who you know, have a bit of a risque conversation and get, you know, I've had men masturbate on the phone to me and all of the things, okay? So these, and I've researched serial killers, which is in my new book, and it all came back to pornography. Right, everyone that's cheating is watching pornography.
Addiction?
Sorry?
You think that's
sorry?
The porn addiction?
What's that? Sorry, cut out.
I said, do you think that's what it is, the porn addiction?
Who with
Like with
the
colors and with just how it progresses.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that if you watch porn you'll become a serial killer. Let me just say that, because everyone needs to
Like that.
don't come at me with that. Every single serial killer has watched porn from a very young age 5 or earlier, age 3 or 5, and it has turned into something else, which turned into something else, which turned into something else, and they couldn't get their thrills. Now, these people are psychologically not right in their heads. However, I can go into the porn addiction now in terms of mental health and what it does to the brain, and you'll start to realize that yes, it is because of pornography. You do have to have other factors that you're okay to kill someone, versus someone who's just very, like I've got men. I've treated someone who was in their 70s who was masturbating 2 hours a day, no erections for 20 years. He hadn't had an erection. He was still masturbating every day for 2 hours watching porn, and he was 71. I've got guys that, sorry?
For 2 hours.
Yeah. It turned the cycle, so the once a week, the once a day, whatever, it turns into something else that takes over their lives. They can't live without it. They have to, it's part of their diary. It becomes who they are. And I tell these stories not to scare people, but you need to know that I know a lot of stuff in terms of these stories. That's all confidential. But I do share them in a lot of stories in my new book, and I am starting to talk about people online, obviously anonymously. I would never disrespect anyone that's spoken to me, and they understand that. So, I've got men that message me that are suicidal, and they say, you can't help me, I'm beyond help, this is where I'm at. And I'm in one guy was in a public toilet, a men's public toilet. He's not gay, he's not bi, but he's waiting for some random stranger to come that he met on like some app to come and humiliate him, because that's the only way he can have an orgasm. It's the only way he can get off, because his porn addiction has become so severe that watching porn doesn't actually do anything for him anymore. And those guys are watching trans porn and gay porn and the most abusive, the most violent, the most disgusting, all of that. That's what happens. Because watching people having sex is no longer doing it for you. So,
and I wanted to give a disclaimer just really quickly. This is not to judge anyone, so it's no offense to any of the gay communities or any to different cultures or anything like that. This is just for information purposes. So I just want to put this out there just so that nobody won't take our conversation go loud anything, because this is not what we're about. This is for information purposes only and to educate people, and to give people an understanding of what it is. So I did want to interject just in case, anybody decided
that's perfectly fine.
Anything like that coming from me. This is my live. It's it's Morphing Time with Mallory. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. Where this is no judgment. This is for help. This is for information purposes. So feeling this may hit you, or you may be offended by this. Maybe this is something you need to contact one of us, and maybe we can help you. And again, it's offend anybody. It's nothing derogatory. This is all for purpose. So
the reason I say that is because, or that we talk about that, is because it is a very common thing. These men are straight, so no one's got anything against any of this stuff. It's that they are straight and that they have turned to things that they don't align with normally in life. That's all it is. Okay, so violence and trans porn, it's got nothing to do with, it's just that's not normally who they are, and that's why it's a problem. That's the only reason. Okay, so I'll tell you what it does to the brain so everyone can understand. It affects your frontal lobe. It gives you brain damage. Everyone goes woo when we use that word. Okay, so it gives you brain damage. It affects your frontal lobe. Your frontal lobe is the hub of your personality, the control panel. Okay, so decision making is affected. Focus and concentration, and being able to focus and concentrate on anything for a long period of time. Creativity is affected. Emotional expression is affected. So when I started to read about this stuff, and I'm like, men don't ask for help, and men don't like to talk about their feelings, and men commit suicide more than anyone else, I was like, hang on a second. We've got guys here with brain damage. The part of the brain that is responsible for depression and anxiety gets damaged. You've got this emotional expression and not being able to express themselves. And I've had plenty of guys that are severe porn addicts who just say, I've got no empathy, no sympathy. I don't understand what my partner is talking about. I don't even know what that emotion means, right? And they can't express themselves, therefore, as well. So it affects your sexual behaviors and controlling sexual behaviors, and also controlling behaviors in general. So that's the part of the brain that gets affected. And it also depletes damages the grey matter in the brain. The grey matter is responsible for motor neuron skills, coordination, central nervous system, all the kind of the physical stuff. So you've got this brain addiction happening, then you've got this erectile dysfunction happening, and no wonder we have guys that 80% of the men that people that kill themselves are male. All right, so I'm linking this to suicide. I'm linking it to prostate cancer because of the problems that it causes, the health problems in the body, and the depletion that these men have nutritionally because of the constant ejaculation and because they're losing their chi all the time. And I'm linking it to domestic violence. That's a given. We're linking it to sexual assault and rape and sexual harassment, dick pics, all of the Me Too movement, the toxic masculinity. My new book is almost 100% on toxic masculinity, and we cover all of that, right? I'm not a man hater, but you cannot be an expert in porn addiction and sexual health and sexual behaviors and not cover the behaviors that we are seeing in society, the sex trafficking. You know, I put up a post a couple of days ago. I watched a sex trafficking thing on Netflix. It's between 500 and 700,000 women go missing, or females go missing every year in the US. And 50% of those are children, and less than 1% of those are recovered. They are all being sex trafficked, okay? Any pedophile became a pedophile because of pornography.
Or because they were a child.
Yes, but normally they're exposed to pornography at an early age, and so therefore that's their outlet. So they may not be touching children physically in their life, but then they're able to, you know, live that through their pornography. So it's sex trafficking. It's everything that affects women is what this is doing. And as much as we don't judge, because I heal and help men, you know, all the time, we have to address this darker side of what's going on behind the scenes. And if I don't address it, it's like, you know, people that eat meat, but they don't want to know how it's killed, and they don't want to address, you know, that side of things, which is me. I'll admit that, right? So it's like the guys want to watch porn, but they don't want to think about what it's doing to them, what it's doing to women, what it's doing to their relationships, what it's doing to the sex trafficking industry, you know, who they're watching, what that person is, you know, what circumstances that actress is, you know, under. So it's like this ignorance, and we have to address it. And that's why my book has taken me almost a year to write, because I've been very afraid of, you know, launching this stuff. Because it's not easy to heal men and then to come out and say, but there's this other darker side. So anyway, that's what's happening with the brain. It depletes your energy. So guys are going to feel really, really tired all the time. They'll be distracted. They won't have memory and focus. They'll have mental health issues. They'll have erectile dysfunction issues and brain damage, right? These men are walking. Look, I did a survey and it came back 97% of men are watching porn regularly. It has shifted over the 2 years I've been doing that survey to now 87%. So we are making a big dent in what's going on, and we're very, very happy to be doing that. Because a lot of guys have quit just seeing my stuff without, you know, doing the work with me, and that's why I do these interviews, so that we can reach everyone. So that's basically in a nutshell what it is. It's very complicated, I understand that, but once you understand the body, and you need to, if you're watching porn or taking drugs or drinking alcohol or gaming, or so gaming has a very similar effect on the brain. So I've got 16-year-olds.
That I'm going to be talking about here in the future is about that, releasing the same chemicals as what porn does. They're getting the same sensation. Dopamine and their serotonin and their oxytocin is also their levels will bring difference because they're getting that same stimulation. So even though it's nothing to do with sex, you're getting the same effect as if you would be if you were ejaculating, or if you were having, it's the same effect. It goes along the lines of drugs. And then there's this big umbrella of what, what addiction is. It doesn't matter what your addiction is, it is all the same thing. It's moving the chemicals in your body and in your brain, and it's creating brain damage, and you don't see it. And people are in denial about it, and it's like, no, it's okay. We all have issues, even as women. Women, have porn addiction. I watch porn. You know what I mean? And sometimes I have to give myself a break because it's like, it is what it is. I know the risks, things that can happen with it, and again.
So just on that with the women, it is exactly the same addiction. It is still a neural addiction, and their genitals also get affected by lack of sensitivity. So guys are touching themselves in a way that women don't touch them, and women are doing the same things. And so they're using toys, and there's like overstimulus of the genitals and overstimulus of the brain, and the same thing happens. Or obviously they don't have erectile dysfunction, and the sperm part isn't relevant, but it's exactly the same addiction, and it does cause brain damage. It causes massive problems in your relationship, and I do hear a lot about it. And I do treat women on referral for this. But just, putting it out there that we're not just, we know it's everyone, but I'm a men's health specialist, so that's what we're doing. I'll just go on to the solutions before we finish up, and then we'll give away the free book and 2-week challenge. So my stance on things is there are 4 links in the chain here. So that means every time a guy masturbates that watches porn, there's porn, ejaculation, masturbation, and orgasm, and it's all linked. So there's 4 links in the chain. What I do is I get that one link, which is porn. We take it out of the chain. No FAP would have you throw the whole chain out. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. So we take out porn. So I've got flies in Australia. So we take out that one link in the chain, which is porn, but we link the other 3 back up: masturbation, orgasm, and ejaculation. We have to link that back up. If I don't teach men how to masturbate properly, and it's called conscious self-pleasure, it's about ritual. It's about self-love, self-pleasure, self-care. It's about making a space in your diary, because I give them homework and there's specific timings. They have to do it every certain amount of days. And I'm going to give that to people today. It's called the 2-week challenge, and you masturbate every second day for 10 minutes, and then nothing for the first week, and then nothing for the second week. And there's a tracking sheet that goes with it. So it's like a grid system. You just fill it out. Did you watch porn? Did you have sex? Did you masturbate? Did you drink enough water? Did you exercise? You rate your erections out of 10, your sexual energy out of 10, and your general energy out of 10, and then the top 2 emotions that are coming up around the exercise. Okay, so guys can have that access for that today. It's really important that they learn how to arouse their bodies differently to what they've trained themselves to do since they were all kids. Everyone's been watching porn since they were in their teens, if not earlier. Okay, so it's the limbic system, which is the arousal system in the brain. All right, so we teach them, you've got to awaken 4 of the 5 senses when you're masturbating. You've got to use essential oils, not on your penis. Disclaimer, not on the penis.
Guys, not on the penis.
Not on the penis, right? So essential oils on your wrists and on your neck and chest, or diffusing in the room. You want to have, so sense of smell is the quickest way to actually set off the limbic system. Everyone knows that you smell something and you have memories that go with that smell. Music is the other one. You put the headphones in your ears. Never masturbate without music. That's my go-to solution. In the ears gives you that surround thing. You have to find something that's emotive, which means it moves you. It might be the Superman soundtrack. When I write my book, I write to the Outlander soundtrack, which is a Scottish film. And it's all the Scottish music. And then all of a sudden I'll be like, no, it has to be Native American. Put that music on and off I go with the book. I cannot write a book with no music going, right? And this is where I've started to realize what's going on myself. So you have to have music on. It has to be emotive. I can send guys my playlist that I massage to, which is shaman type music, which is very masculine. It's got like drum beats and stuff. I can help you with that. You need to make sound. Sound arouses the body, right? You've got to start using your voice. It opens up the throat chakra as well, and it gets the energy to move up through the body. which is a whole other complicated thing, but just focus on arousal at the moment. So making sound, listening to music, so that's the sound thing, then essential oils for the smell. You want to cover your eyes and close your eyes every single time without fail. Do not open your eyes when you're masturbating if you have a porn addiction. So we're going to retrain and rewire the brain around visual stimulus, okay? The other thing is touch. Get some coconut oil, guys. If you haven't discovered coconut oil, and ladies, I discovered it myself recently. I thought I should start doing what I teach, and I can vouch for it. It's pretty good. So we don't want people to use lube or moisturizer or anything like that. It has to be organic. Coconut oil is amazing.
In coconut oil.
So coconut oil, no essential oils in the coconut oil. So just a coconut oil, because that changes the sensation, which is the touch sense, okay? Now you also want to start touching your body differently. You want to touch it, how you want to be touched by a woman, not how you masturbate normally. B, how you want to touch a woman. And then the other thing that I get guys to do to move the energy around the body without it being all weird and sexual, like you massage your inner thighs, you start using your nails, you use hard touch, soft touch, massage, different types of touch, okay? Scratching the backs of your hands, scratching the back of your head, scratching the top of the head. What they don't realize is they're moving energy around the body, but that's just the places where I tell them to do it. If they feel like putting their hand on their throat, do it. If you feel like putting your hand on your chest, do it. They're actually accessing chakras, but I don't teach that stuff because it's too complicated. We just say, don't just have the other hand doing nothing, okay? So the other hand needs to be doing something. It can be on your forehead. It can be calming the back of your head. It can be anything, okay? And in terms of fantasy, the biggest question I get is, what do I think about when I masturbate, when I'm trying to quit porn? Because the guys don't want to think about porn, but their brain is trained to have those thoughts. What I tell guys to do, and this is my biggest secret that I don't tell anyone except for the guys in the program, is you need to imagine and invent an avatar. An avatar being not like a video game avatar, but a light being from, let's say, outer space or a different planet. She has female form, she might have hair, she might have the form of breasts and you know, a shape, but she does not have detailed genitals or nipples or body hair or any of that stuff that porn has, okay? Now, I channeled this a while ago and it's working a treat with guys. She is there to love you and witness you in your beautiful masculinity. That's what she's there for. So she can lay on top of you. She can touch you. She can sit behind you and hold you. She can give you a head massage, right? So this is what you have to fantasize about now to bring in the love, because guys don't know how to bring in the love. They start thinking about exes. Don't think about your ex, right? Bring in the love that you need, okay? So she has qualities. This avatar, just like in business, we have to come up with avatars of who our ideal client is. This is your ideal woman, right? So what does she bring to you? What does she give you? What do you get to give her, right? What kind of beautiful, and if you're thinking about exes, grab the qualities of the exes and apply it to this avatar, right? Make the perfect woman. And that's what you fantasize about. And it's beautiful. You do a timing session. Timing is everything. You have to masturbate to a timer. This is how I get everyone to do this. This is training now. You have to train yourself, train your brain, train your body. The 2-week challenge that I'm giving everyone today should help with erectile dysfunction within that 2 weeks. You should start to see a difference straight away. So if anyone wants that today, and we're going to give you my first book for free, which is normally $5.95, and you're going to get my $17 2-week challenge for free, please either write yes in the comments or send me a DM or send Mallory a DM and we will send you the links. We can't put the links in the comments because Instagram doesn't allow clickable links. So send me a DM or write yes or freebie or something underneath the comments and we'll send it to you. If you don't want to declare it publicly that that's what you want, then you can send us a DM, and you can find me at Integrated Men's Health on my Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn, Snapchat. I'm on WhatsApp. You can go to my website, integratedmenshealth.com.au, and you can contact me through there. Okay, so if you lose this video and you don't know, just add me, follow me, and we can have a chat.
Yes, so thank you again. We are about an hour, so I want to be respectful of your time. So again, as she did provide all of her information, I will be making different clips of our live today and posting on our on my Instagram with her information as well. So again, if you don't feel comfortable, commenting in the comment section, please feel free to reach out to me or reach out to her, and we will help you. Again, don't feel ashamed or anything like that, because this is not something that just happens in men. It happens in women too. We all have it, and I think this is just a topic that needs to be talked about. It's very sensitive, and again, we're not bashing you. We're not saying like, hey, watching porn is bad. It's just that we want you guys to kind of understand the risks that come with it and how it does affect us. So again, thank you so much, Ms. Catherine. I do appreciate you for being here for me today. This was good. You answered all of my questions with only me asking you one question, which is absolutely great. I look forward to working with you in the future, and maybe we can set up some more time to talk about women and too, just so that we're not just talking about men. We can also talk about women. Do some networking and research to see, what other things that I can kind of pull from this, and maybe have some other people kind of join us as well to kind of talk about maybe somebody having an addiction or something like that. So again, so much for tuning in. I appreciate everything. I will be reposting this video, and I will create all of her information in there as well, as far as her website and her IG handle. And again, like I said, if you feel like you have any issues, or you think you might have any issues or anything like that, don't hesitate to reach out to either of us, and we'll help you and get you taken care of. Okay, if you have children who you think that may be having these issues as well, feel free to reach out to us, and we'll do our best to try to help you out or get you to the right people that can actually help you. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning into It's Morphing Time with Mallory, and we will see you guys soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.